Good Friday morning, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the news you trust studio, sponsored by BASF, where you can count on the trusted performance of Allevo seed treatment to protect your soybean crop. I'm Dusty Sonnenberg. Well, under clear skies, I've got 37 degrees on the barn thermometer for a Friday morning, and for the most part, it looks like clear skies should dominate most of the state throughout the weekend. We're still getting a number of reports about field fires and now some grain dryer fires, so take that extra time, keep things clean, and stay safe out there. This quick calendar reminder, tune in during middays next week as we will have updates from the 98th National FFA Convention. We'll be checking in with FFA members from across the Buckeye State participating in contests and receiving awards, and that coverage brought to us by Wilmington College. Taking a look at your agricultural headlines, U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins announced a new plan to support America's cattle producers. A document titled The USDA Plan to Fortify the American Beef Industry, Strengthening Ranches, Rebuilding Capacity, and Lowering Costs for Consumers was released this week. America's food supply chain is a national security priority for the Trump administration, said Rollins. We're committed to ensuring the American people have an affordable source of protein and that America's ranchers have strong economic environment where they can continue to operate for generations to come. At the USDA, we're protecting our beef industry and incentivizing new ranchers to take up the noble vocation of ranching. Today, the USDA will immediately expedite deregulatory reforms, boost processing capacity, including getting more locally raised beef into schools and working across the government to fix long-standing common-sense barriers for ranchers like outdated grazing restrictions. Now, the plan has three pillars: protecting and improving the business of ranching, expanding processing, consumer transparency, and market access, and finally, building demand alongside domestic supply. With the plan, the USDA outlines several initiatives for each pillar, including creating a grazing plan with the Department of the Interior to expand grazing on federal lands, hosting regional listening sessions for ranchers, promoting country of origin labels on beef products, and supporting school systems and purchasing local beef and more. To learn more about the USDA's plan for the beef industry, visit ohioagnet.com. Well, let's get a check now on your Friday morning weather forecast, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance, online at seedconsultants.com.
We got a little bit better weather forecast cranking up over the entire state of Ohio today. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at that Ohio Ag weather update. Northwest winds are subsiding in strength. That's key number one. As the winds subside, that means lake effect cloud cover is not going to be as big of a story for your Friday. Key number two, without the cloud cover, we get sunshine back, and that's going to help warm us. Key number three is going to be a shift in winds, not necessarily today, but into tomorrow, coming up from the south and southwest behind high pressure. That should allow for significant warming as well. So today, getting more sunshine and not as chilly as the past few days, but then we warm up nicely for the weekend, both tomorrow and Sunday. Early next week, we're going to be dry as well on Monday with some very nice temperatures. Tuesday, Wednesday, interesting days next week because we have a system passing by to our south here this weekend and into early next week over the Tennessee Valley and the deep south, and it doesn't do anything this weekend. Next Tuesday, Wednesday, so the 28th, 29th, we are seeing some south and southeast flow try and draw up. A little bit of those moisture remains, so I won't rule out a few hit and miss scattered showers, only 30 to 40% coverage, mostly southwest Ohio next Tuesday, Wednesday, but I can't call it completely dry either. Behind that little blip, I do think we turn cooler for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and it's just in time for our next front to come through. Halloween night through Saturday morning, November 1st, we're flipping the calendar over, and here we have some scattered rain showers, probably half an inch or less with about 80% coverage over Ohio, but it also does draw down some significant cold air. If you didn't get a frost or freeze here nearby earlier this morning, you're likely going to get one a week from now as we move into that calendar flip into November. That's your forecast update. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Well, sticking with weather news, it's been a very unusual October weather pattern in South America this year. Fronts have been very common, and that isn't usual, but they've been very strong and have been pushing much farther north than usual, and that's led to long periods of dryness in central Brazil with overall good soil moisture farther south. Now, this continues for the first week of November, but the pattern could change after that. During September, October, and November, it is common for fronts to move through Argentina and into southern Brazil, where they usually fade out. Meanwhile, monsoonal flow from the north brings in vast amounts of moisture from the Caribbean and Central Atlantic to fuel scattered thunderstorms across central Brazil, but this season so far has been different. We've seen extremely strong fronts moving through Argentina and southern Brazil, bringing these areas enhanced rainfall, but these fronts have also been able to clear central and even northern Brazil, leaving cooler, drier air in their wake and leading to very odd conditions that agricultural producers in the region are not used to. They are used to the daily showers and thunderstorms, especially after mid-October, but the dry spell that they find themselves in now is not one that they expected. Instead, these fronts have messed up the monsoonal transport of moisture into the region and have left them awfully dry so far during the month of October. Some areas are a full 2 inches short of normal rainfall, some areas even more, and a couple of periods of rainfall so far this month have been intense when they have happened, but the amount of rain-free days is a bit alarming. When skies clear and the temperatures rise, the soil moisture that's around quickly evaporates into the atmosphere and is drying out some areas a bit too much. Producers have been using the extra time to quickly plant their soybeans in the region, but the germination of these seeds is in question. They need their regular daily rains, and they need it to come soon. In contrast, soil moisture over southern Brazil and Argentina is reportedly very high. The Rosario Grain Exchange is forecasting a significant boost to winter wheat production in Argentina because of that. The first wave of corn planting is reportedly going very quickly as well, that according to the Buenos Aires Grain Exchange. Some meteorological data is unavailable due to the U.S. government shutdown, but reported conditions across southern Brazil are very good. The state government of Parna notes that the full season corn planting is nearly finished and soybean planting is more than half complete. Conditions for both are mostly good to excellent so far, owing to high soil moisture in this week's report. Stay tuned, we'll be back with more after this. Those long days in a tractor cab can really put a cramp in your body. So while refueling or refilling your equipment, walk around the tractor a few times or do a few head-to-toe stretching exercises. When fatigue does set in, that's when injuries and mistakes happen. Know when it's time to take a break and recharge. Let's make sure everyone gets home safe and sound. This message from the Ohio AgNet, OSU Extension, Ag Safety and Health Team, and this station. Taking a look at other agricultural headlines, a group of World Food Prize laureates, along with more than 100 Nobel Prize laureates and more than 250 organizations, called for a, quote, moonshot of investment into agri-food systems to fight against global food insecurity. Now, in an open letter, they warned that the world, quote, is not even close to meeting future food needs while more than 700 million people are hungry and 2 billion people do not have reliable access to food. The World Food Prize annually holds the Borlaug Dialogue, a program that seeks to build upon the legacy of renowned wheat breeder Norman Borlaug. He was the 1970 Nobel Prize winner and is considered the father of the Green Revolution. Now, Carrie Fowler, a 2024 World Food Prize laureate, said global food aid is often treated differently from other international programs, and that often leads to food aid agencies competing for funds against others wanting to promote agricultural development. Very often in this field, we're pitted against each other from the word go. Do we want to invest in humanitarian assistance or do we want to invest in agricultural development? I don't know why it is set up as a dichotomy, he said. The laureate's call comes as the World Food Program has said it is cutting back on food aid around the world. The world's largest food aid program has seen 40% of its budget cut, forcing ration cuts and suspensions of aid in some regions. We're seeing the repercussions in the cuts of funding in food aid and increases in hunger and instability in countries that were receiving that aid, said chef and humanitarian leader Jose Andres. Well, fertilizer prices are making agricultural headlines once again as average retail fertilizer prices were mixed during the third week of October. Only one fertilizer had a significant move. That was anhydrous, which was 8% more expensive compared to a month ago with an average retail price of $838 a ton. Now, prices for 3 other fertilizers were up just slightly. DAP had an average price of $922 a ton, while MAP was up at $932 a ton, and potash came in at $486 a ton. Prices for the remaining 4 fertilizers were slightly lower compared to a month ago, with urea having an average price of $595 a ton, 1034 was $666 a ton, and UAN 28 came in at $414 a ton, with UAN 32 at $466 a ton. So if we break that all down to a price per pound unit nitrogen basis, the average urea price was 65 cents a pound unit nitrogen, anhydrous ammonia was 51 cents a pound, UAN 28 was 74 cents a pound, and UAN 32 came in at 73 cents per pound unit nitrogen. Once again, looking back a year ago, prices for all 8 major fertilizers are higher compared to where they were. Potash is now 8% more expensive, and looking back, 1034O is 10% more expensive. MAP is 16% higher, with anhydrous and urea both 20% more expensive. DAP is 25% higher, UAN 32 is 29% more expensive, and UAN 28 is 31% higher than it was a year ago at this time. Now, in industry news, shares of Brazil Potash fell after the company announced a private placement to raise $28 million in gross proceeds, that according to the Dow Jones. Their stock dropped 14% to $229 on October 17th, extending a more than 70% decline so far this year. The company said it will sell about 11.5 million common units at $2 each and 2.55 million pre-funded units at $1.99 each to select institutions and accredited investors. Brazil Potash said net proceeds will be used for working capital and other general corporate purposes. The transaction was expected to close on October the 20th. Stay tuned. We'll be back with your markets after this.
Attention construction pros. Purple Wave Auction brings quality equipment to your fingertips. Join our bi-weekly online auctions featuring dozers, excavators, loaders, and more. We provide detailed listings, photos, and seller contact info. Inspect online or in person. With our no reserve policy, every item sells to the highest bidder. Visit purplewave.com today and see why informed builders choose Purple Wave. Transparent processes, real deals. Your next great purchase awaits. purplewave.com.
It's time now for today's market analysis, brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Call 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC.
I wish I had a nice little version of Fleetwood Mac's Rumors playing behind me for this market update. Grain markets yesterday moved higher with rumors abounding about several suggesting China's booking U.S. soybeans. We cannot get any confirmation of that, but there was a rumor that circulated pretty heavily yesterday that China booked about 1.26 million metric tons of U.S. soybeans. The rumor came from a supposed WeChat text. Sources tell us in the Gulf that the rumor is out there, but they have not sold the beans. Others suggest that China's Sinograin booked one cargo off the PNW. China would never book a single cargo, so we're throwing that out the window as well. But overall, the market yesterday greeted the cash-connected rumors with skepticism, yet not that much skepticism, with the market moving higher. At the end of the day, we saw soybean futures leading the way, up double digits, corn up at 5 to 6, and wheat up anywhere from 9 to 11 cents. So skepticism, yes, but did it help the markets? Also, yes. Can we count on more today? No. We'll just have to see how it goes. The interesting story here is that the other markets played along as well. Turkey launched a tender to import 250,000 metric tons of feed barley yesterday. That tender closes a week from here, and the tender is generated by a smaller domestic harvest of barley in Turkey. That helped to float the wheat market just a little bit. Also in the news yesterday, China's state oil majors suspended Russian oil purchases due to sanctions from the U.S. on Russian oil. The move comes as India has also pledged to reduce its imports of Russian oil over time. China imports roughly 1.4 million barrels of Russian crude per day that are bought by independent refiners and small operators. However, China also has been
stockpiling crude for the last several months anticipating this move. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Let's take a look now at how your markets closed on Thursday, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Well, December corn closed up 5 cents and March corn was up 5.5. November soybeans closed the day 10 cents higher, with January beans up 12 cents. December Kansas City wheat closed up 11.5 cents, while December Chicago wheat was up 9.25, and December Minneapolis wheat closed 10.25 cents higher. In the overnight trade, December corn is down 1.50. November beans down 1.25, and wheat for December down 1/4 cent. Thanks for joining us. This is the Ohio AgNet.